You're listening to Dairy Voice by Dairy Business News, a podcast exclusively for the dairy industry.
One of our sponsors of the Dairy Voice podcast is National DHIA. NDHIA ensures information accuracy and represents their members' interests. They are the direct voice for the dairy information industry. To find out more, go to dhia.org.
Dairy One's Soil Laboratory provides a variety of industries with soil testing and analysis. For most of our customers, their businesses literally start from the ground up. A soil analysis will help our customers ensure that the right nutrients are available in the soil or if additional fertilizers are needed. These decisions will impact their plant growth and yield. If you need to improve your soil's health, Dairy One is ready to help. Contact the Dairy One Soil Laboratory by emailing soil@dairyone.com. That's dairyone.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dairy Voice podcast by Dairy Business News. I'm Connie Kuber with Sealpro Silage Barrier Films by AgriScience. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share this podcast with your friends. So my guest today is Darcie Sullivan. She is the market manager for Dairy One. And we're going to talk about milk testing today. And you might learn something new from our conversation. So tune in. Let's talk first about what Dairy One does. It provides milk testing and forage testing services to dairy farms across the northeastern United States. And this year is special because they're celebrating 75 years. Darcie supervises 17 field technicians who service 350 farms in her region. And she started as one of these technicians herself in 2015, serving dairies in Jefferson and Lewis counties in northern New York State. And 3 years ago, she moved up to her current position. Darcie, welcome to the Dairy Voice podcast.
Thank you, Connie.
I know, Darcie, that you grew up on a farm, and that was in New York State. Is that correct?
So I was born and raised a dairy farmer's daughter, and I have loved cows since my feet hit the ground. Dairy farming and agriculture are my passion, and I am so glad I get to live that out with Dairy One. I've made countless relationships with customers that we service. They never told me in the beginning of testing that it was going to be this huge relationship building. I often tell my boss, you failed to mention that in the interview. So we've been to countless weddings, baby showers, graduate that were just young when I started. So it is super rewarding to learn new things to bring back to the farm, and watching them be profitable is the ultimate success.
Now, before we started today, you had a windstorm at your place, and you said you had some roofing or insulation blown off your barn.
We had a couple sheets of tin blow off the barn, and they said it was the windstorm of the decade. So we had like 75-mile-an-hour winds. So in upstate New York, we're really good at snow. We're not as good at wind.
Tell me a little bit about your farm.
We live on a crop farm, so we do not have dairy cows, but we live on a crop farm. 900 acres of crop.
So let's get started with talking about milk testing. How many cows are on test with Dairy One? And what percentage of the national herd is that?
So here at Dairy One, we test an average of 1,800 herds per month and 570,000 cows. The average herd size at Dairy One is currently 311 cows. We actually test a farm that has one cow, and we go all the way up to a farm that has 9,000 cows. The number of cows on test in all systems is about 4.5 million cows, and that is about 50% of the national herd.
When we're testing milk, when Dairy One is testing milk, what tests can be done on a milk sample?
So the tests that can be done through the milk sample are butterfat and protein, somatic cell, milk pregnancy, milk urea nitrogen, pathogens, PI, lactose, and total solids. So that are all the tests that can be done through our lab.
Have you run out of silage? Had to buy expensive, marked up feed to fill the gap? Maybe production's dropped due to lower dry matter intakes. Are molds or mycotoxins creeping through your piles or bunkers? And pitching the rot is a dangerous pain. Oxygen is the enemy. Pack it out, then keep it out with Sealpro, the professional grade silage barrier film protection chosen by top professional farmers like you. Make more, better, safer silage with Sealpro. Learn more at sealprosilage.com.
You mentioned PI. What does PI stand for?
It's the preliminary incubation. So that's that's not so much on the testing side of it as it is for like producer payment that comes from the actual milk company.
Oh, okay. So you have 17 people that you're supervising, and I know that they've got a big job in getting ready for milk testing. What do farms need to be doing to prepare for test day?
One of the most important things a dairy farm can do to be ready for test day is have a good cow ID. The cow being ID'd with a visible number it just can't be stressed enough, because without a good ID, the information is not valuable. If the tester doesn't know who she's seeing, then it's really hard to further the test. They also, along with that, need an accurate birth date, and they need good animal records such as breeding dates, dry dates, pregnancies, calving dates, and sold dates. And then farms are continuing to grow. So we need good pen numbers and now the location of the cow in the dairy.
All the identification data.
Yep. And then the data really is only as good as the data we are given. So this is where it's super important for the technician and the dairy farmer to work together.
When the tester comes, the technician comes, we do the tests. How long does it take to get those records back to the farm?
So it takes about an average of 2 to 3 days to get the samples back to the farm. So we go out to the farm, we take the sample, it goes through our courier service to the lab. Our courier service runs about 3 days a week, and then it takes about 48 hours from that point to get through.
And at that lab, how are you providing accuracy of the tests? Tell us a little bit about your quality control in your lab.
So the lab goes through check tests to make sure that all of their equipment is calibrated properly. And then there are also other measures that go on within Dairy One to make sure that there's data integrity. So like our technicians go through in-depth training. We follow national DHI uniform operating procedures. Our meters are calibrated annually. And actually our organization goes through a national DHIA quality certification audit, and that is performed annually and extremely thorough.
And I would assume that those trainings happen on an annual basis?
They happen 2 to 3 times per year.
Oh,
and
okay.
It's, yep, to stay within the national DHIA standards, but it's also to keep current on information that we are returning back to the dairies.
So what are the benefits that farms get from testing that Dairy One and you see are important?
There are many benefits of testing, and it's very interesting the information you can get from one sample vial full of milk. Right on test day, you get milk weights, and you can start making business decisions based on the milk weights that day. And they can be divided out by lactation group, pens, days in milk. So we can just make a different set of reports according to what the dairy is looking for production records. The technician also makes sure all of the farm's animal records are in order, and the farm uses our data to lower somatic cell, increase production, maximize feed efficiency, have less disease, and better their components. And another great benefit of testing is pregnancy testing through milk sampling. This can be done at different stages of lactation. So the first test can be done 28 days post-breeding. And then after that, we can really tailor it to the farm's wishes. Some farms choose to do their second check with us for milk pregnancy through the milk. And we usually do this at about 60 to 100 days post being confirmed pregnant. And then finally, I think this is an underutilized service, but another great benefit of doing milk pregnancy is at dry off, because drying off a cow that is open is super expensive, and you often don't realize it until you've already housed her for about 60 days. And it costs on an average of about $6 per day to house an open dry cow. And then one other great benefit of testing is milk urea nitrogen. This report can be broken out by lactation, pen, and days in milk. This gives the milk urea nitrogen levels for all groups. This is a measurement of how well the cow is utilizing their protein in their diet, and it can help to maximize feed efficiency.
That's a help to the nutritionist as well, then.
It is, yes. The nutritionists often really enjoy them reports and look for them.
Mm-hmm. So if I'm a dairy farmer, can I customize the reports that I get from Dairy One?
Yes. So it can work in a lot of different ways, but there we have like standard reports that you can receive, but we often say like we can create whatever you want. We just need to know what you're looking for.
With the countless numbers of cows that you've worked with and farms that you've worked with, can you talk about a time where you worked with a farm to solve a problem?
So I had a customer milking about 120 cows, and for a longer period of time, I was just going each month to catch up their animal records. And each month I went with the hope that they were going to actually want to sample. And then one month he pulled me aside and said, "Hey, our somatic cell is elevated. We're not getting our quality premiums. Can retest." And that was a great day for me because I'd been waiting for it for quite a while. Through testing, we were able to reports back to the farm and finding their chronic mastitis cows and the root problem, which ended up being their dry off program. Cows were drying off with a high linear score and calving in with that same high linear score, indicating that their dry cow protocols were not working. So by returning reports back to the farm was either able to cull or treat the chronic cows. And they were able to alter their dry cow program. So they were able to get their somatic cell premium. They're now monthly testers, and we don't even just go to do information. They're actually waiting for the reports that we are taking back to them. So this was an excellent return on investment for the dairy. And it's super hard work to obtain your somatic cell premiums, but together we were able to accomplish that.
So milk quality, like we're talking about with the somatic, have a lower somatic cell count, that plays a role in everything related to the sale of it. So yet the farms don't go on test. Why do you think that is?
So I think that can actually happen for a number of reasons. And one is just simply they are seeing the initial cost of testing and not the value that it is going to return back to the farm. And there just may be a lack of understanding of what testing programs are and how they can benefit their dairy. And then it just may be as simple as grandpa or dad didn't do it, or they had a bad historical experience.
Yeah, that happens quite often, I think. Do you think that as younger generation comes along that they will be more apt to test with for the information? They seem, we have so much information that we use in other parts of our life. Maybe that might follow through with milk testing. Do you think?
It does. The younger generation is waiting for the data. They understand the numbers and how they're important and how they are helping them to make business decisions. I mean, dairy farming is really getting to where it's working in finite details, and younger generation knows that.
What does Dairy One say that the return on investment? I mean, there's probably a wide range depending on the different problems that you fix, but what is the range of return on investment for testing?
So farms that test receive premiums more consistently. And when we get back their somatic cells results quickly, they can alter and get their premiums. Actual return on investment actually depends on how aggressively they want to use our data. Somatic cell premiums can equal substantial dollars quickly, and this is probably the most common use of testing to gain return on investment. Balancing feed rations based off weights and components and milk urea nitrogen results is just another way to gain real dollars. These numbers will show the weaknesses and strengths in the diet where adjustments can increase the return on investment to the farm based from the testing data. The one thing we do know that is the dairy has to find value in testing to be utilizing our services. And dairy farming, like I said, is working in finite profit, and it is in the details and the data that is happening on the farm. So it's our goal each time we step foot out on the dairy to bring them value.
And do you go out and talk to farmers about these kinds of things, or is that left to the technicians?
That is both of us.
Okay.
So I'm finding it to be super rewarding to go out on the dairy and talk to them and see where their pain points are and what we can bring to them to bring more value to their dairy. On test day, the testers can do that, the technicians, but we are also out in the field trying to help them daily.
I'm assuming then that you work with DHIA and breed associations to compile all this data for the national production statistics that we have and genetic proofs for both males and females and herd management statistics. Is that true? Can you tell me about that?
So that is true. So our information after test day, after it gets through our lab, it goes into different processing centers, such as like DRMS, ATA, AgSource, and Provo. And then it is distributed to the Council of Dairy Cattle Breed Associations, and the National Association of Animal Breeders. We are also members of the National DHIA. So the data re-entered needs to be accurate, so it enters national statistics accurately and is usable information. And this is where both the dairy and the technician need to work together to make sure the data integrity is there. I always say that no data is better than bad data.
When if a farmer has a problem with their reports or their software or whatever it is that you that they come to, or do you have customer service people that they can call, and how does that work?
Customers can feed it to us and we can filter it into it, but we do have customer service people on staff that help them with their software and help them with all of that stuff.
How does milk testing affect international markets and marketing?
So testing helps to maintain customer confidence in U.S. products, and it is important to the international markets through the shared resource with organizations like ICAR. So without sharing this data globally, we wouldn't be able to improve the U.S. herd or the global herd. So like 66% of U.S. genetics actually go offshore. So recently here at Dairy One, we just completed a factors project for the National DHIA. And so we sampled 1,100 cows each week, each milking. So we sampled them 3 times a day on the same day. And they were looking to look at the factors that go into the calculations for components. As genetics change, the factors that go into components needed to be updated. And so, yeah, this is actually a national project. And we did the first farm for the National DHIA, and this will continue to other dairies across the U.S.
We have a lot of interesting things that are happening in the dairy industry as far as equipment, efficiency, information, that kind of thing. What do you think is the future of milk testing?
Well, I think as farms continue to grow, it's going to change. Dairy farms are getting larger, and we find ourselves working more in teams out on a farm. So it may take 5 or 6 testers to test the farm. So we're finding that we are working in groups much more often, which also requires collaboration of their schedules to make that all happen. Technology, though, such as electronically identifying cows, will continue to grow. And as labor and transportation continue to become more costly, different methods of testing will continue to transform. You know, the information we provide will continue to be more detailed as the profit out in the dairy is in the details. And then the gold standard is testing. So it is important to measure data to manage data.
All right. Well, thank you, Darcie. We've covered a lot of ground here. Is there anything that we missed that you'd like to add?
Sure. I just want to reiterate that working directly with the dairy is super rewarding, and going back each month to discuss the changes that are working and are not working out in the dairy is great learning for both of us. And find it super beneficial when the farm is like, hey, can you create this new report for me so we can actually bring more value back to the dairy? Dairy farmers really do view their technicians as part of their team, and we're there to help them with their pain points. And we really find that building the relationship with the customer is crucial. It really is awesome, the relationships that you build.
Well, the dairy industry is like that, isn't it? It's
It is.
a very relationship building group of people.
Yes, it's probably the biggest thing I miss about when I first started to now managing.
Okay, well, thank you, Darcie. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today about Dairy One and and all the work that you do. Darcie, can you give us an email address or a website that we can reach out to get more information about Dairy One?
If you're interested in services, you could reach out to us at support@dairyone.com. And our phone number is 1-800-344-2697. And my direct email is darcie.sullivan@dairyone.com.
Well, thank you very much. I'm Connie Kuber with Sealpro Silage Barrier Film by Conner AgriScience, and you have been listening to the Dairy Voice podcast by Dairy Business News. Please remember to subscribe, to like, and share this podcast with your friends, and maybe they'll learn something about milk testing today too.